I want to walk you through a model today, a specific model for understanding where you are and where you are going. I call it three-phase model: survival, strategy, structure. And I want to be precise about each phase, because the mistake most people make is that they use these words loosely. For example, they say I'm in survival mode as a figure of speech, or I need to get more strategic, without knowing exactly what either of those things means in concrete daily terms. So by the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture of what each phase actually looks like, what decisions you make, what your relationship with risks looks like, how you experience time, what success means to you in each of these three phases. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what the transition points looks like, the specific moments where one phase needs to end and the next one needs to begin. This model is core of my book, Shit Life to Self-Made, which launched this week. But I want to give you the full framework here, because the model is what matters. The book just goes deeper. Let's start at the beginning. Survival mode is not a failure. I want to say that clearly before anything else. Survival mode is an intelligent, adaptive response to a genuinely threatening situation. When your environment is unstable, financially, relationally, physically, psychologically, your nervous system does something very smart. It narrows your focus to what's immediately relevant and immediately threatening. It speeds up your reaction time. It makes you hypervigilant. It reduces your capacity for long-term thinking and increases your capacity for short-term response. That is not dysfunction. That is precisely what it's supposed to happen when you are in danger. The problem is not survival mode. The problem is survival mode persisting past threat. Let me describe the survival mode in concrete terms, because most people don't recognize it until they are standing outside or of it looking back. In survival mode, a relationship with time is collapsed. You are not thinking in years or even months, you are thinking in days and weeks. The planning horizon is short because the environment requires short-term responsiveness. Your decisions are reactive. Something happens, a bill arrives, a conversation goes wrong, an opportunity appears, and you respond immediately. You are not moving towards something, you are responding to things. Your definition of success is stability, not progress, not growth, stability. A day without new crisis is a successful day. Nothing went wrong counts as a win. Your relationship with rest is complicated. When things are calm, you feel uneasy, because in survival mode, calm usually precedes the next storm. So rest never fully lands. You're always scanning, always slightly on alert. And your identity is built around what you survived. I'm a survivor becomes core statement about who you are. Is any that still true for you? Question. Not as a historical fact, right now, in your daily life. Are you still making mostly reactive decisions? Is your planning horizon still mostly short-term? Is stability still your definition of success? If yes, you are still in survival mode. And that's okay. That's where this model starts. The question is, what does the exit looks like? The exit from survival mode is not a decision to be more positive. It's not a mindset shift. It is a structural change in how you make decisions. And the signal that you are ready to make change is a specific one. It's the moment when you start asking what I'm building toward instead that how do I get through this? The question is the hinge. One on side of its survival, in another is strategy. You don't need to answer the question yet. You just need to start asking it. Because survival mode doesn't ask that question. Survival mode has no direction. It has momentum. It keeps moving. But momentum without direction is just speed. Strategy mode is fundamentally different from survival mode in one specific way. It is directional. In survival mode, you are moving away from something, away from crisis, away from threat, away from pain. In strategy mode, you are moving towards something, toward a direction, toward a structure, toward something you are consistently building. Because moving away is reflexive. Your body does it automatically. The same way you pull your hand back from a flame. You don't decide to move from pain, you just do. Moving toward requires decision. And not just one decision. It requires a sustained series of decisions made constantly even when the motivation fades. Let me describe what strategy mode looks like and feels like in practice. Your relationship with time expands. You start thinking in quarters, in years. You can hold a longer planning horizon because the environment is stable enough to plan. Your decisions become proactive instead of reactive. You are not just responding to what's in front of you. You are making decisions based on where you are trying to go. But here's what the critical about strategy mode. It's still effortful. Structure hasn't been built yet. Every good decision still requires deliberate effort and deliberate choice. You are not an autopilot. You are choosing constantly every day. This is where the most people stall. They get into strategy mode, which is genuinely progress, real progress, and they expect it to feel easier. But it doesn't feel easier. It feels different. The effort shifts from surviving to choosing. And if they are not prepared for that, if they're expecting that getting out of survival mode means life gets lighter, they interpret the difficulty of strategy as evidence that something is still wrong. Nothing is wrong. It's just different kind of difficult. The goal of strategy is not to make things easier. The goal of strategy is to make decisions that build toward structure, so that eventually the good decisions become automatic. And here's what strategy mode requires that survival mode didn't. It requires filter. In survival mode, the filter is, does this keep me alive and stable? Every decision passes through that filter. In strategy mode, you need a new filter. And you have to build that deliberately. The filter is, does this move me toward what I'm building? If you don't build that filter constantly, you'll default back to the survival filter. Even when the environment is no longer requiring it. You will make decisions based on what solves today's problem rather than what builds tomorrow's structure. Building the filter, defining what you are building toward specifically enough to use as decision test, that is core of strategy mode. The transition from strategy to structure is less dramatic than the first transition, but it's equally important. You know you are ready to move into structure when your strategic decisions have become consistent enough that you don't have to fight to make them anymore. When the healthy decision is no longer the hard decision. When your direction is no longer something you have to consciously remind yourself of every morning. When the question, what I'm building toward, has a clear enough answer that you don't have to rethink it every time you face a choice. That's the signal. Consistency has made strategy feel natural. Now you can build structure on top of it. Structure is the phase that most people don't have a name for. It's the phase where the work of building becomes architectural rather than effortful. Let me explain what I mean. In survival mode, staying alive is the work. In strategy mode, making good decisions is the work. In structure mode, the work is building the systems, environments and relationships that make good decisions automatic. The difference between strategy and structure is the difference between choosing to exercise every day and having a gym membership, a training partner, a settled time, and a routine that means exercise happens whether you feel like it or not. Strategy is the choice. Structure is the architecture that makes the choice automatic. And this is important. Structure is not passive. You don't build structure by accident. You build it deliberately, piece by piece, by asking what needs to be true in my environment, my routine, my relationship, my systems, for the outcomes I want to happen without requiring constant willpower. Structure is the answer to that question made physical. In structure mode, your relationships with time shifts again. You are now thinking in years and decades. You are building things that will compound. Your decisions are no longer primarily about direction. Direction is settled. Your decisions are about what to add, refine, or remove from the system you are building. Your definition of success has shifted from stability, past direction, to compounding. You measure success by whether today's work is part of something that will be larger next year than it is this year. And your identity has shifted again. You are no longer primarily a survivor, although that's part of your history. You are not primarily someone who is building, although that's what you do. You are the architecture. The structure is an expression of who you are. That is what self-made actually means. Not luck, not talent, not single breakthrough. Architecture built deliberately over time from survival through strategy to structure. That is the three-phase model. Survival, intelligent adaptation to genuine threat. Strategy, directional decision-making towards something you are building. Structure, architectural system that makes building automatic. and the transitions from survival to strategy. When you start asking, what are you building toward? From strategy to structure, when consistency makes deliberate choices automatic. Now, honest question. Where are you? Not where you wish you were. Not where you think you should be. Where are you actually right now? Because the model only works if you are honest about that. If you are still in survival mode and you try to build a structure, it won't hold. If you are in strategy mode and you are expecting to feel like structure, you'll burn out. The book, Shit Life to Self-Made, map each phase in detail. It gives your specific frameworks for the transitions. It tells you what gets you stuck at each point and exactly what to do about it. But even if you never read the book, you now have the map. Survival, strategy, structure. Use it. I'll see you in the next one.